After secretly loving my childhood friend for 7 years, and under my best friend's encouragement, I carried flowers and a cake, taking an overnight train to confess to him. But at the bustling basketball court, I stumbled upon them kissing. He held my best friend in his arms and asked me coldly, "What are you doing here? Can't you see I'm busy?" Covered in embarrassment, I was about to explain. His roommate chuckled beside me. "My girlfriend is bringing me a cake. What's it to you?" Chapter 1. When I arrived at the basketball court carrying the cake, Damien was pressing my best friend Monica against the railing, kissing her. Monica was only stunned for a moment before she turned around and embraced Damien, kissing him passionately. The weather was scorching. I stood outside the basketball court, feeling dizzy from sitting on the train all night. The surrounding cheers felt like they were piercing my eardrums. We were just betting whether Damien could win over Monica. They've been flirting for so long. It's about time they got together. Come on, pay up. Hearing this, my hands holding the flowers and cake suddenly lost strength. On my phone was the text message Monica had just sent me. "Damien is at the basketball court. Hurry and confess." Chapter 2. The sky was overcast. The wind had picked up, swallowing my embarrassment and disappointment. I quickly ran out of the basketball court. Behind me came Monica's anxious voice. She was almost crying. "Caro, it's not like that. Let me explain." I had ridden the train for a day and a night, feeling exhausted and aggrieved. I didn't want to think about why Monica would kiss the person I was going to confess to on the day she urged me to confess. But the hem of my shirt was still being tugged. Monica's previously rosy cheeks were now somewhat pale. She frantically pushed Damien toward me, her voice filled with uncontrollable grievance. "Caro, let Damien talk to you." Damien gripped Monica's hand instead and asked indifferently, "What are you messing around for? So eager to give your boyfriend away?" Monica stubbornly pulled at me, showing no intention of letting go. Yet, she didn't withdraw her hand from Damien's grasp. The scene became awkward. Seeing Monica's tears, Damien's eyes darkened. He turned to question me. "Who told you to come? Can't you see I'm busy?" I had taken the train for a day and a night, anxious and sleepless, only to be met with a cold dismissal. The words I wanted to say just wouldn't come out. Breaking free from Monica's hand, I was preparing to leave in embarrassment. Suddenly, a cold and calm voice came from beside me. "I told her to come." "So what?" A tall figure appeared not far away. He lazily lifted his eyelids and looked at me. "You even delivered the gift to the wrong person. Come here." Chapter 3. I didn't expect to meet Sebastian again under such circumstances. The last time we met was 3 years ago when Sebastian, as the top science student at our school, gave a speech on stage. When I handed him the trophy, I tripped on the red carpet and fell along with the trophy. Later, he and Damien got into the same university. They even became roommates. It seems that every time we meet, I end up making a fool of myself. Damien looked somewhat displeased. "Sebastian, you don't need to bother with her. Let her go back to wherever she came from." As soon as he finished speaking, Sebastian chuckled softly. "Are you misunderstanding something? My girlfriend came to bring me a cake. What's it to you?" Because of this statement, that evening I appeared at Damien's birthday party as Sebastian's girlfriend. The atmosphere at the party was a bit subtle. Monica kept glancing at me, forgetting to eat several times. "What are you looking at her for?" Damien frowned. "Eat more. Don't be afraid. No one can bully you." My long-suppressed emotions finally burst out. I stared straight at Damien. "Explain clearly. How am I bullying her?" Damien kept a stern face and said nothing. I then turned to Monica and asked, "Are you afraid of me? Did you do something to wrong me?" Monica shook her head. "No." Sebastian handed me a glass of watermelon juice and said casually, "If she's so timid, don't bring her out to meet people." Then he casually grabbed a handful of pistachios. "Peel them gently. Don't scare her to death." Pfft. Several people around couldn't hold back and burst into laughter. Monica's face looked a bit unpleasant. She made an excuse to go to the restroom and ran out. In the latter half of the birthday party, I was both tired and sleepy, planning to leave early. Taking advantage of Sebastian stepping out to take a call, I got up and followed him. I wanted to thank Sebastian. I had traveled so far, and at the most awkward and helpless moment, he helped me out. The corridor outside was dimly lit. Sebastian was at the end of the hallway, making a phone call. His cool voice was slightly lowered. It echoed in the corridor. Only then did I realize he was the student council president at their university. He originally had other plans tonight, but he postponed them to attend this party. I stood a few steps away, intending to wait until he finished the call. Sebastian saw me, paused his conversation, and said, "I'll call you back later." Hanging up, he turned and asked me, "What's up?" "Thank you for tonight." Sebastian leaned against the windowsill, quietly staring at me. Just when I thought there was something on my face, he suddenly asked, "Want to go to the amusement park tomorrow? With me?" "Who else?" Sebastian asked with a half smile. "Didn't you post on your moments that you wanted to go to the amusement park? Can't come all this way for nothing." The wind outside the window tousled his messy black hair, the corners of his white shirt fluttering. He looked at me so lazily, yet it made the grievances I had suppressed surge up again. I suddenly lowered my head and wiped the corners of my eyes. "Thank you. I'll treat you to a meal tomorrow." Sebastian didn't speak for a long time. Just when I thought he was going to tease me for being a crybaby, he suddenly drawled, "All right, girlfriend." Chapter 4. Sebastian left early because of student council matters. I came out of the restroom and ran into Monica at the door. There were teeth marks on her lips. As soon as she saw me, tears kept falling. "I'm sorry, Caro. I didn't expect things to turn out like this. Will you forgive me?" I only felt disgusted. I shook off her hand, took out my phone, and asked, "How much did the hotel reservation cost?" "I'll transfer the money to you." Monica was stunned. "Caro, I'm sorry. I forgot to book the hotel for you." Her voice seemed muffled, as if separated by a layer of mist, making me think I misheard. Is this still the best friend I treated sincerely? She had taken it upon herself to say she'd book the hotel for me, told me to just buy the ticket and come. And now this happens. "Monica, you did this on purpose, didn't you?" Monica said awkwardly. "I'm sorry." At the time, all the rooms near the school were fully booked, and with Damien relentlessly pursuing me, I just forgot. "How about you stay in my dorm tonight?" I didn't want to deal with her anymore and turned to leave, but Monica grabbed me. "Caro, I forgot to tell you. Sebastian already has someone he likes. Just now he was helping you out. Don't overthink it. I don't want you to get hurt again." Looking at her cautiously pretentious demeanor, I suddenly felt very annoyed and shook off her hand. Monica was caught off guard and fragilely fell hard to the ground. I pulled out a sarcastic smile. "Are you a mind reader? Do you know what Sebastian is thinking?" Monica lowered her head without speaking, but her breathing suddenly became somewhat heavy. Damien suddenly appeared out of nowhere, roughly pushed me away, and caught Monica, who had gone limp, in his arms. He said coldly, "Did the cake you brought have mango in it?" Seeing me staring coldly at him, Damien got angry. "Don't you know Monica is allergic to mango? Are you trying to kill her?" At that moment, I was surprised to find that Monica's lips were turning purple. I knew she was allergic to mango, but the mango was specifically requested by Monica. She had said, "Damien loves mango the most." Chapter 5. At 1 o'clock in the morning, Monica was taken to the nearby hospital. The doctor sighed. "You know you're allergic. So why did you eat it? Do you have a death wish?" Damien suddenly turned his head, his expression dark as he looked at me standing nearby. "Moni is still lying in there. Are you satisfied now?" I took a deep breath and retorted, "Damien, are you out of your mind?" Monica knew there was mango in it but couldn't control herself. "What's that got to do with me?" Damien's gaze grew even colder. "Carolina, stop pretending. Don't think I don't know why you came this time. Does me being with her make you that upset? Did you deliberately buy a mango cake to harm her?" Looking at this person who can't tell right from wrong, I suddenly realized I regretted everything. Back then, when Damien stayed after school every day to help me with math, encouraging me to get into the same university as him, joking about how I'd manage without him, I shouldn't have thought that Damien liked me. By now, I hadn't slept for a whole day and night. Intense fatigue was causing my heart to race. I closed my eyes to steady myself, took out my phone, and without hesitation dialed 911. Just as the call was about to connect, Damien suddenly snatched my phone and smashed it to the ground. Enough! How long were you going to make a scene? I looked at my shattered phone on the ground, slowly squatted down, and picked up the pieces. Then I threw them all at Damien's face. Just because I had secretly loved him for 7 years doesn't mean I have no dignity. Doctor, please help me call the police. I had reached my limit. My vision was darkening. At the moment I was about to collapse backward. A pair of hands steadily caught me. The clean scent of soap mixed with a hint of mint filled my nose. Sebastian's cold and clear voice came from above my head. She didn't eat much dinner. Maybe she has low blood sugar. Please check on her. In my hazy consciousness, I seemed to hear dialing sounds. Sebastian's indifferent voice faintly reached me. Hello. I'd like to report an incident. Chapter 6. After the doctor gave me a glucose pack, I felt better. Sebastian had finished the call and was staring coolly at Monica. Monica shrank guiltily into Damien's arms. I just tasted a little bit. And the cake was there. It's meant to be eaten, Sebastian said expressionlessly. But the doctor said it doesn't look like you just had a little. It's better to explain this clearly in front of the police after checking the surveillance footage. Back in high school, I knew Monica was afraid of trouble. She would even walk in sync when she saw police officers on the street. She always hid behind me. This time, when the police arrived, Monica was so scared she couldn't even move. I told the police the whole story in detail. The officer pointed at the video showing her eating 3 pieces of cake and asked, "You knew you were allergic but ate 3 pieces? Couldn't you taste the large mango filling?" Monica's face turned deathly pale. All she could do was keep apologizing. "I'm sorry, I was just being greedy. It won't happen again." She lowered her head helplessly, silently shedding tears. Damien softened again. "All right. Just fix your gluttonous habit next time." His attitude was completely different from when he was scolding me earlier. Monica's eyes reddened, ready to seek comfort from Damien. But I took Sebastian's phone, showed Damien the payment QR code, and said, "Monica ate my cake, and you smashed my phone in front of the police and the doctor. Pay up." Sebastian, suddenly involved, responded with a light "I can attest that my girlfriend did suffer a financial loss." Damien's face turned extremely sour. "Carolina, you're going to argue with me over this? You told me to get lost. And I should thank you for smashing my phone?" With the police present, Damien transferred the money to me without much fuss. But when he saw Sebastian supporting me as we left, his expression suddenly darkened. Chapter 7. After leaving the hospital, I walked along the small alley for a long time, walking faster and faster, until I turned a corner and saw an empty street. I squatted down, burying my face between my knees. The summer night was silent. A sea of purple lilacs stretched out through the rusty iron fences of the old residential area. A breeze blew, and petals fluttered down. The streetlights were dim. On the ground were only 2 shadows, me, squatting, and Sebastian, standing. Sebastian said, "It's okay. Cry if you want. I'll keep your secret." My emotions, suppressed all day, finally broke down. Sobs echoed through the lilac vines, resonating in the deserted street corner. Before I came, I had thought it through. Even if I got rejected, so what? At least I still had Monica with me. On the way here, Monica and I chatted enthusiastically, from food to sights, even talking about which bar we'd go to if my confession failed. But today, I experienced Damien's humiliation and Monica's betrayal. I couldn't hold back my emotions anymore. Sebastian leaned not far behind me, just enough to avoid facing me directly, allowing me to hide my tear-streaked face. After standing for a long while, I stood up with puffy eyes. "Thank you for today." Sebastian didn't look into my eyes but stared at his phone, casually responding with a "There are still 3 hours until dawn. Get some good sleep. Let's reschedule the amusement park to the day after tomorrow, okay?" In a hoarse voice, I said, "Okay." At that moment, a police car passed by and stopped in front of us. The window rolled down, and the officer inside greeted Sebastian familiarly. "Seba, is this your friend?" Sebastian nodded. She couldn't book a hotel. Aunt Wu said she can stay at her place tonight. Could you please give her a ride? Sure thing. Hop in. Seeing me staring blankly at him, Sebastian explained calmly. I thought you might not feel comfortable, so I asked my uncle, who's a police officer, to take you somewhere safe for the night. Only then did I realize he was worried I wouldn't trust him, so he simply asked a relative in the police force to take me to a reliable place to stay. I opened my mouth, realizing I had already said thank you many times tonight, so I changed my words. The day after tomorrow, I'll treat you to a meal. Sebastian smiled, seemingly knowing what I had been thinking, and said, You've said that already. Seeing me a bit embarrassed, he opened the car door for me. All right. See you the day after tomorrow. The door closed. Before I could say goodbye, Sebastian had already faded into the distant scenery, becoming a silhouette in the night. Chapter 8. I never expected that Aunt Wu lived in the family quarters next to the police station. Feeling completely at ease, I slept for an entire day and night. When I opened my eyes, I saw a message from Sebastian. Call me when you wake up. I stared blankly for a moment, then suddenly jumped up and hurriedly got dressed. Today, I had arranged to go to the amusement park with Sebastian and treat him to a meal. I was about to be late. When I rushed to the amusement park, Sebastian was sitting on a bench by the roadside. His long legs were casually stretched out over the open space in front of him. He looked relaxed and at ease. The sunlight was perfect, filtering through the treetops and casting a layer of fine golden light on him. Panting, I ran over. When did you get here? Sebastian placed a sun hat on my head, his voice tinged with a smile. Just now, neither early nor late. Girlfriend. After speaking, he naturally took my hand. I stiffened all over. Sebastian leaned in close and whispered, Don't look back. Damien is behind us. Sure enough, I heard Monica's voice and secretly felt unlucky. Why do I run into those two annoying people everywhere I go? So I took the initiative to lean closer to Sebastian, pressing against his arm. Let's go to the haunted house. Monica is timid and usually avoids such places, but when the staff grouped us, I saw Monica holding Damien's hand as they walked in. Caro, I called you just now. Didn't you hear me? Damien's gaze paused on our joined hands before indifferently looking away. He said to Sebastian, Wanna team up? Sebastian looked at me. I said, I don't mind. Sebastian naturally had no objections, so the four of us were assigned to the same route. After entering the passage, the light dimmed. Monica was so scared that she shrank into Damien's arms. Damien, I'm so scared. Actually, I was scared too, but for the sake of pride, I didn't want to stick too close to Sebastian. I just held his hand tightly and walked quickly, sensing that my palm was slightly sweaty. Sebastian tightened his grip. Slow down. We'll get through. I nodded, but the cool breeze blowing on my back still made me unconsciously quicken my pace. Suddenly, Monica's scream came from a corner. I shuddered, and Sebastian pulled me back into his arms. The chill around me disappeared, replaced by Sebastian's warm body. Shoo! His warm breath brushed past my ear. His lips seemed to have touched me. The ghost is over there. You almost ran into it just now. Over there. Monica was already crying from fright. I couldn't care about maintaining my composure and hugged Sebastian's waist tightly, whispering, Don't let him come over. Please. Don't let him come over. Sebastian seemed to chuckle softly. All right. The sound of chains seemed to gradually approach from behind. Sebastian pressed my head into his chest and smiled as he spoke to the actor. Hey buddy, could you let us off? My girlfriend is timid. The actor let out an unwilling roar, rattled the chains, and left while grumbling. After the actor left, Sebastian was still holding me. Our heartbeats echoed, accompanied by soft, warm breaths. Only then did I realize we were in a somewhat intimate position. Can you keep going? Sebastian's voice was very low, almost a whisper. My face felt a bit hot. Just as I was about to let go, I said, Sorry. Sebastian tightened his grip instead. There's nothing to apologize for. That sentence was like a feather, gently landing on my heart. His palm suddenly felt scorching. When I looked up, I met Damien's gaze from the side. His expression was obscure and hard to read. Then, he looked away, for the rest of the path. No actors came to bother us. Instead, Monica's frequent screams echoed. Sebastian held my hand and led me safely out. Because my arm had gotten some dirt on it, I went to the restroom to clean up. Monica followed closely behind. Caro, why have you been ignoring me since just now? Under the bright lights of the restroom, I noticed that she had dressed up carefully today, wearing a cute dress perfect for photos, and was looking at me pitifully. I dried my hands, turned around, and prepared to leave. Monica suddenly raised her voice. Carolina, did you ever consider me a friend? I thought you would give us your blessing. This sentence hit my sore spot. I turned around and retorted sarcastically. Monica, where's your brain? Monica seemed provoked by me. I know you've had a crush on Damien, but who told you not to get into the same university as us? I watched over Damien for you every day. Of course, I would develop feelings too. Then why did you encourage me to confess? Because I could hardly suppress my own feelings. I originally didn't plan to be with him. He suddenly came over and kissed me. You know I can't refuse. Enough! I interrupted Monica. You're innocent, weak, afraid of trouble. Can't refuse when someone confesses to you. Secretly eat because you're greedy and don't dare admit it. In the end, I'm the one bearing the consequences. What makes you think I should consider you a friend? Monica stared at me with wide eyes, her eyes reddening, but she said nothing. Damien's voice came from outside. Moni, are you done? Monica wiped her tears and said softly, it's all my fault. I'm sorry to everyone. I'll break up. Is that enough? After speaking, she pushed the door open and ran out without looking back. Chapter 9. Damien heard the last sentence. He suddenly grabbed me, his grip so tight it hurt. What did you say to Moni? Nothing much. We're ending our friendship. Damien laughed angrily. Carolina, are you being childish? You're forcing her to break up with me by ending your friendship? I didn't force her with a knife. Nor am I her mother. If she wants to break up with you, it means you're not charming enough. What does that have to do with me? Damien seemed unusually aggressive today. He pulled me along, walking out. Since we can't find her, you shouldn't hang around either. Are you crazy? I bought a ticket to get in here. You think you can just escort me out? I'll call the police. Carolina, who do you think you are? His face turned completely cold. You disrupt my life and drive away my girlfriend. Don't I even have the right to ask you to leave? He abruptly dragged me to the carousel, pointing at someone not far away. He said, see that? That's Sebastian's real girlfriend. I saw Sebastian standing in the dappled sunlight. A girl in a school uniform skirt ran down from the carousel, smiling as she snatched the cola Sebastian had bought for me. Sebastian just looked helpless. Damien took out his phone and pulled up his chat history with Sebastian. How do you think he knew you had nowhere to stay that night? I looked at his conversation with Sebastian. Damien, bro, my girlfriend's here, and I can't get away. Help me take care of Carolina. She has nowhere to stay tonight. Sebastian replied with an okay. Damien put away his phone. Now, do you still think Sebastian likes you? By staying here, you're just causing more trouble for all of us. I admit that I'm not brave enough when it comes to love. Otherwise, I wouldn't have hidden a crush for 7 years. I don't want to go through it again. So, ignoring Damien's sarcastic remarks, I walked towards Sebastian. Within a few steps, Sebastian noticed me. The girl in front of him was chatting excitedly. Sebastian pressed down on her head, hiding her behind him. Who is she? Sebastian pursed his lips. Before he could speak, the girl behind him suddenly peeked out. Hi, I'm Sebastian's sister. You must be my sister-in-law, right? The emotions I had built up suddenly vanished, leaving only confusion. Your sister? Sebastian expressionlessly pushed the girl toward the distance. Didn't you say your friend was waiting for you? Stay away from us. Oh, for some reason, Sebastian seemed a bit serious. The girl walked a few steps, then suddenly dashed back, rattling off rapidly. Are you Carolina? My brother really likes you. He even kept the yearbook you wrote for him. MMPH. Sebastian swiftly covered her mouth. Shut up and scram. He tossed her 2 meters away, and she still called out sister-in-law to me. Sebastian and I stood there awkwardly. The carousel started turning again, Laughter and joy filled the surrounding air. I felt Sebastian's gaze on my face. His tone was calm. She has no filter. Don't take what she says to heart. I stared at my toes and murmured, "Then what about my drink?" She extorted it from me. "I'll buy you another one." "Is it about the yearbook?" Sebastian choked for a moment, then took the initiative to hold my hand, replying coolly, "Yes, about the yearbook." I remembered Sebastian's yearbook vividly. Before graduation, the class monitor suddenly came in with a stack of grid paper. "It's for Sebastian. Everyone can write some graduation messages when you have time." That's odd for someone so aloof. He actually likes the stuff, but he prepared small gifts. Those who finish filling it out can come to me to collect them. At that time, I wasn't very familiar with Sebastian. Amid the class monitor's chatter, I wrote 8 words, "Happy graduation, wishing you a bright future," and signed my name at the bottom. I also received Sebastian's gift. It was a keychain I liked very much at the time. Thinking of this, I smiled and said, "Yearbooks are something we used in childhood. Why use them in high school?" After all, smartphones had been popular for a long time by then. The wind stirred the lavender by the roadside. Its rich fragrance filled the air. Sebastian's voice blended into the wind. "Because of your name." I didn't quite catch it. Because of what? Sebastian didn't answer, just smiled. So I smiled too. Chapter 10. The sun was setting in the west. The central plaza was filled with people. It was said that after nightfall, there would be a grand and splendid fireworks display. I picked a spot with an excellent view and pulled Sebastian to sit down on the ground. Night was falling. The brilliant sunset was gradually replaced by darkness. The surrounding sounds of people rose and fell, mixed with a slight breeze and the chirping of insects. Propping up this noisy summer night, I received a call from Monica. She was crying on the phone, asking me, "Can you forgive me? Caro, I know I've wronged you. If you don't forgive me, I won't get back together with Damien. Is that okay?" Compared to the anger I felt when I first learned of my best friend's betrayal, I was much calmer now. "Are you trying to morally blackmail me? If I don't agree, I become the villain who prevents you from getting what you want, the domineering and selfish one. Is that it?" On the other end of the line, there was only Monica's sobbing. She did indeed think that way. I smiled faintly, a hint of helplessness in my voice. "Monica, he's just a man. If you like him, you can have him, but you shouldn't have deceived and toyed with me. That I can never forgive. Do you understand?" After hanging up, Sebastian handed me a peeled orange. "It's starting." As the music began, a splendid firework burst into the night sky. A huge castle stood in the twilight, brilliant and dazzling. This bitter unrequited love that spanned 7 years, occupying my entire youth, finally came to an end tonight. I turned my head and found that Sebastian was also looking down at me. A leaf was stuck on his forehead. The crowd was noisy, and the music was deafening. If I spoke now, he probably wouldn't hear me, right? So I pointed to my own forehead. Sebastian was momentarily puzzled. As the music reached its finale, dozens of magnificent fireworks soared into the sky. Bang! Under the dazzling lights filling the sky, Sebastian lowered his head and kissed my forehead. A strange tingling sensation spread from my forehead to every part of my body. I froze instantly. The surroundings gradually darkened. The streetlights lit up again. The cheerful music of the distant carousel flowed back into my ears. The spectators around us began to stand up. Only Sebastian and I remained still. "Is Damien behind us?" I felt Sebastian's slightly warm gaze, lowered my head, and didn't dare to move. Sebastian chuckled. "He's not here." My heart suddenly skipped a beat. "Then you. Can't I kiss you if he's not here?" Chapter 11. While Sebastian went to buy ice cream, I sat restlessly on a bench not far away. To be honest, I've never been in a relationship. The closest contact I've had with a guy was sitting next to Damien when he tutored me, accidentally touching knees and hands. These things tonight were clearly beyond my experience. I was looking down, posting online, asking what to do in this situation. Suddenly, someone stood in front of me. "You two are really together?" Damien's tone was low. This was a sign he was about to get angry. "What does it have to do with you?" "How does it not? Your parents know you came to see me. I'm responsible for your safety. Seeing me stay silent. He sighed. Carolina, can you stop being so willful? Not just anyone is suitable for dating. Be good and go back. I looked at him expressionlessly. I know not just anyone is suitable. Sebastian is not just anyone. Damien's face darkened. But you obviously. I saw the reluctance in his eyes. I retorted. Obviously what? I've liked you for 7 years. And now I like someone else. You think that's not right? This was the first time I laid everything out in front of Damien. Damien's expression visibly stiffened. His lips pressed tightly together. And he said nothing. I stood up. So what do you think I should do? See you with Monica. Meekly leave under your impatience? Damien said stiffly. No, Caro. If you get into graduate school here, I can consider being with you. I laughed. He knew very well that my major would develop better in the north. What about Monica? What's your attitude toward her? Damien retorted. What do you think? If I liked her, I would have made a move long ago. Why wait until the day you came? After speaking, he didn't see the gratitude he expected on my face. I raised my hand and slapped him decisively. Damien was stunned, covering his face. Caro, you. Smack. Another slap. Just as I raised my hand for the third slap, Monica suddenly appeared out of nowhere, blocking in front of Damien. She shrank her neck in fright, her voice trembling as she accused me. Carolina, have you hit him enough? He's my boyfriend now. What right do you have to hit him? Looking at this pair in front of me, I suddenly found it somewhat laughable. Just now, Monica must have heard my conversation with Damien. She should know that half of those slaps were for her. Yet she chose to defend Damien. Moni. For the first time since that day, I called Monica by her nickname. I've always wondered, what does a man have that can come between us? Now I know. Because you deserve each other. After speaking, I gave Monica a slap too. Take good care of your man. Never break up. Chapter 12. After leaving the amusement park, I suddenly remembered that I seemed to have left Sebastian inside. I called him. When he answered, there was only the quiet sound of insects on a summer night. I felt a bit awkward. I'm sorry. I ran into something just now and forgot about you. Sebastian chuckled. I saw. Those slaps were really satisfying. I sat down on a small flower bed by the roadside, staring idly at the pebbles on the ground. I said, Sebastian, I'm going back to the capital. My major might have better prospects in the north. I didn't say the rest. Actually, Damien was right. Long-distance relationships are too hard. Not to mention, my relationship with Sebastian hadn't even reached the point of being boyfriend and girlfriend. Carolina, look up. I raised my eyes and saw Sebastian standing under the street lamp, holding an ice cream cone, smiling at me. My heart slowly lifted, then began to beat rapidly. Thump, 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 thump. The next second, Sebastian's gentle voice overshadowed the sound of the wind. It came simultaneously through the phone and from across the path. I like you. Next year, I'll apply to a university in the capital. So don't worry. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. Then a subtle sweetness spread bit by bit from within. Sebastian smiled and said, I was afraid confessing too soon would scare you. But now it seems I have to confess. My face quickly flushed red. I turned my head away and muttered, I didn't mean to force you to leave here. You're not forcing me. I'm doing it willingly. Sebastian took my hand, avoiding the crowded front gate. We talked a lot. Life plans. Hopes for the future. We chatted until we reached Aunt Wu's place. Still reluctant to part. Before saying goodbye, I still said, Sebastian, don't make life decisions because of me. The wind gradually died down, and the colorful spiral lights of the barber shop at the street corner were dizzying. Sebastian nodded. Don't worry. I won't. Chapter 13. After that, I returned to the capital. I began to busy myself with preparing for graduate school exams. In the blink of an eye, it was Mid-Autumn Festival. Sebastian was occupied with applying for graduate studies and couldn't come home. I was also swamped in the capital, leaving no chance for us to meet. I thought we wouldn't be able to see each other. That evening, I suddenly received a call from Sebastian. I'm at the airport. I was startled. Which airport? The capital's airport. It had just rained in the capital a few days ago. And today the sky had cleared. The dry heat filled the air but couldn't suppress the restlessness in my heart. I hurriedly put on my clothes. I'll come pick you up. No need, Sebastian said. Just wait for me obediently at your school. My roommates had long heard about my previous experiences and clamored to see Sebastian. So, at dusk when the sun had just dipped below the horizon, Sebastian approached me with a bouquet of fresh flowers under the scrutinizing eyes of my roommates. Breaking away from the crowd, our dorm leader's eyes widened. Oh my gosh, he's so handsome. Everyone, retreat. Give the lovebirds some privacy for a kiss. She shouted this rather loudly. Sebastian heard it from afar and chuckled, feeling embarrassed. I touched my nose. Don't mind them. They usually like to joke around. Sebastian nodded, handed me the flowers, then leaned down and kissed me on the lips. My face instantly turned red. This was right at the school gate. Isn't that Sebastian's professor behind us? There were also many classmates who knew me around. Sebastian's kiss was brief. He then gently patted my head. I missed you. Holding the flowers, I stood there stiffly, stammering. I missed you too. The dorm leader cheerfully ran over. Hey handsome, we gave you time. And that's all the kiss you gave? Do you know who our Caro is? Top student, beautiful and kind-hearted, popular. She has suitors lined up from here to the South Pole. Ask around. Who doesn't know her? After she finished speaking, the classmates who came out to buy food or pick up packages at the school gate started to chime in. A few junior students blushed and shouted to me, Senior Carolina, we like you too. Sebastian smiled. Sorry, but I confessed earlier. Your Senior Carolina likes me now. The crowd gradually dispersed. I glanced sideways and saw Damien still standing behind. It seemed they had come as a group. Damien stood alone in an empty spot, smoking. I remembered he didn't use to smoke. I looked away and asked Sebastian, why didn't you tell me in advance that you were coming? Sebastian said, Damien was around. I didn't want you to be upset. Besides, don't you have something to do tonight? Yes. Then let's each handle our own things. I'll find you when I'm done. Okay. I finished my tasks relatively early. At 8 in the evening, I went to Sebastian's hotel. As soon as I entered, someone grabbed my wrist and pulled me out. Before I could steady myself, I was hit by the smell of alcohol. Damien was drunk, and the way he looked at me was quite intimidating. Carolina, do your parents know you're throwing yourself at someone like this? I asked. What am I throwing myself at? You've only known him for a few months, and you're already eager to sleep with him. Isn't that throwing yourself at him? Damien's voice was loud, attracting everyone's attention. Yet he didn't restrain himself. He's not like me, you don't know him well. Carolina, being with him is worse than being with me. I kicked him hard. I used all my strength in that kick. A dull thud sounded, watching Damien bend over in pain. I pressed my parents' number on my phone and held it up in front of him. Go ahead. Call my parents and tell them that I'm going to sleep with my own boyfriend and you won't allow it. And that you think I should sleep with you. I even dialed his parents' number and put it on speaker. After you call them, you can call your own parents and let them know their son is trying to sabotage someone else's relationship. Damien's face looked terrible. He panted heavily, saying nothing. My long-suppressed anger finally erupted. Grabbing his hair, I shouted, Call! Don't make me look down on you. Damien stared at the flashing phone number on the screen but ultimately didn't press the call button. I released his hair and coldly spat. Coward, where do you get the confidence to think I'm dating Sebastian just to spite you? Is it your not-so-wealthy financial situation or your not-so-brilliant mind? It seems your emotional intelligence is quite low too. The nearby door slid open silently. Caro. Sebastian stood there holding a bag of steaming fried pastries. Calling out to me, Damien wiped the dust off his face and, without a word, got up and walked toward Sebastian. I treated you like a brother, and this is how you repay me. His swinging fist was effortlessly dodged by Sebastian. Damien stumbled and fell to the ground. Sebastian, while helping me open the plastic bag, smiled and said, Damien, who said we're brothers? Damien was dizzy from the fall and was caught by his professor who came out behind him. The professor squinted. Damien, Have you been drinking? Don't you know there's a seminar tonight? What kind of behavior is this? Sebastian acted as if it was none of his business, twisting open a bottle of water for me. Don't eat too much. There's more later. Damien was taken away by his professor for a scolding. After walking a good distance, I finally laughed. Why did you trip him just now? Be careful he doesn't sue you. Sebastian couldn't help but chuckle. It won't happen next time. By the way, did Damien and Monica break up? They did. Damien initiated it. I nodded and didn't say anything else. The topic quickly passed, and it wasn't brought up again for the rest of the evening. Chapter 14. This was supposed to be my first real date with Sebastian. No interruptions from others, just a date belonging to the two of us. Today, luck wasn't on our side. The movie screening was delayed by half an hour. By the time it ended, it was nearly midnight. Sebastian and I walked hand in hand along the tree-lined path. The dappled lamplight was dimmed by the shadows of the trees. Neither of us spoke. As we approached the vicinity of the school, I said, "I've missed curfew." "Yes, I know." Sebastian's voice was a bit tense. His palm felt a bit warm. I brought my ID card. As I said this, my nervous palms were sweating. Sebastian looked straight ahead. "I just booked a room for you." My face instantly turned red. "Oh, I see." The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. We walked hand in hand back to the hotel. After getting my own key at the front desk, Sebastian walked me to my door. "I'm right across the hall. If you need anything, just call me." After opening the door, I turned to look at him still standing there and called out, "Sebastian." "Yes? Didn't you say I could call you if I needed anything?" Sebastian smiled. "Do you need something?" I took a step back. "Sebastian." Sebastian stopped smiling. A few seconds later, he stepped forward and kissed me. This kiss was different from the brief one at the school gate. It was more intense. He pushed me into the room and closed the door. The darkness added a new dimension to the kiss. Our heated breaths intertwined. We desperately drew oxygen into our lungs. Until a certain moment, a spark ignited with a bang. Brilliant stars burst before my eyes. Sebastian rested his forehead against mine, his voice hoarse. "I've waited so long for this day." "What day?" "The day I can kiss you freely." Through the thin layer of his white shirt, I felt Sebastian's wildly beating heart. It pounded crazily against my palm. I wanted to say something else, but Sebastian hushed me and held me tight. "Stay quiet for a moment. It'll be okay in a bit." I wrapped my arms around his neck, slowly burying my head into his chest. "Sebastian, what happens next?" Sebastian took a deep breath. "Do you have to ask at a time like this? How long do you think I can hold back?" Sensing my stiffened body, Sebastian chuckled and turned on the entryway light. "Get some rest. I'm leaving." This time, I didn't dare call him back. Early the next morning, I was awakened by the ringing of my phone. A strange voice sneered at me. "Carolina, have you no shame? What did Monica ever do to you that you had to steal her boyfriend?" I had just woken up, and in my grogginess, I heard Monica's sobbing on the other end. Before I could ask what was going on, the caller hung up. When I went downstairs for breakfast, I ran into Damien and Monica. Monica looked a bit haggard, clutching Damien's sleeve and sobbing. Clearly, she had rushed over overnight. "Damien, you promised to be with me." Damien frowned impatiently. "You were the one who suggested breaking up. Remember?" Monica's expression went blank. She suddenly turned to look at me. Tears streamed down her face. A young woman who had accompanied her rushed over and gave me a push. "So you're Monica's good friend." "Huh? Monica always treated you as her best friend. First, you morally blackmailed her into breaking up with Damien, and then you hooked up with Damien at a hotel. If I don't expose you, I'll take your last name." Monica bit her lip. "Forget it. Don't be like this." The girl angrily shook off her hand, full of righteous indignation. "Don't be afraid. With me here, no one can bully you." In this girl, I saw a reflection of myself. Many years ago, I also argued with others on Monica's behalf. Only later did I realize that people who appear weak aren't always kind. They can also be foolishly malicious. The girl pulled out her phone. "Afraid? I've already posted about you online. Scumbags like you deserve to be thrown in the trash." I looked at Monica with a faint smile. Is this what you told her? Monica was as weak as ever. I'm sorry, Caro. I couldn't stop her. I turned to the girl. Did you know that it was Monica who urged me to confess? And on the day of my confession, she got together with Damien. She looked at me coldly. You think I'd believe that? Do you have any proof? Indeed. Monica often communicated via voice messages. She hadn't left any chat screenshots that could serve as evidence. However, the bouquet I used for the confession was ordered by Monica, and I happened to have the florist's contact. The florist had sent me screenshots of his conversation with Monica to confirm with me. Your friend ordered flowers for you but wants to write someone else's name. Are you sure? I couldn't reach her. So I'm asking you. In the screenshots, Monica stated the purpose of ordering the flowers. They were meant for a confession to a friend. The note read, Damien, I like you. The girl fell silent. By now, the online post had gained traction. People were hurling insults at me nonstop, and soon they even dug up information about my school. I looked coldly at Monica. If it weren't for this screenshot, all that online abuse would have fallen on me. Monica, is what she's saying true? Facing the girl's questioning, Monica panicked. I'm sorry. I just didn't want you to hate me. Monica always had excuses to absolve herself. The girl choked up, then asked me, even so, you still shouldn't be messing around with Damien in a hotel. Before she finished speaking, netizens had already answered the question for me. Do you have the wrong person? Yesterday, Senior Carolina was all lovey-dovey with her boyfriend at the school gate. Honestly, her boyfriend is way more handsome than Damien. Can't imagine why she'd go after Damien. Sebastian appeared not far away and called out to me, Caro. What's going on? The girl saw Sebastian and looked bewildered. Senior Sebastian. Sebastian responded with a pulled me into his arms, and asked, what are you doing here? Her gaze shifted between me and Sebastian for a moment, realizing she had made a mistake. Nothing, just a little misunderstanding. Sebastian looked at the people present, understood what was happening, and his tone instantly turned cold. Damien. Why is your mess with your ex-girlfriend still troubling Carolina today? I recall Carolina has rejected you more than once, right? Damien looked ashen. Yes. The girl was a bit confused. Why did Monica say that you wouldn't allow her to date Damien? I smiled. I cut ties with both of them long ago. Monica insisted on being friends with me before she'd continued dating Damien. Then this has nothing to do with you? The girl suddenly understood. She brought this on herself. As Sebastian and I left, the girl was scolding Monica. Who are you putting on this tearful act for? Don't take me for a fool. I accompanied you on an overnight train, and you deceive me like this. I sighed and asked Sebastian, do you know her? Yes. Journalism major. She hasn't even mastered the basics of her courses and is already trying to uphold justice. Sebastian squeezed my hand. After she clarifies things, we can report this to the school authorities. Chapter 15. That girl's writing was quite good. Her vivid storytelling caused quite a stir online. Many netizens lamented. People who are both foolish and malicious should be kept at a distance. You guys are really unlucky to have been deceived by her. Because of this incident, Monica was called in by her school's faculty for a talk. After returning, she was depressed all day. Her grades plummeted. Damien, due to getting drunk and contradicting a professor that day, had his admission offer from his desired mentor revoked. The day I received a call from my parents, I had just gotten my graduate school acceptance letter. Something happened to Damien. What happened? He was crossing the street and got his foot run over by a car. He's in surgery now. The doctor says he might end up disabled. The incident was sudden, and I was in the midst of preparing my enrollment materials, so I wasn't in the mood to ask for more details. Later, after talking with my parents at length, I learned that Damien was pushed by Monica. Damien's parents wanted to sue her but found out that Damien had struck first. He was in the wrong. I didn't know what happened after that. Their lives had nothing to do with me. On this day, Sebastian arrived in the capital. The afternoon weather was warm, with a lingering sense of autumn. I jumped out of the taxi, the wind messing up my carefully styled hair. Sebastian was leaning lazily against a roadside stone pillar, holding a black leather suitcase, his long legs casually crossed. And he waved at me. Hey, girlfriend, long time no see. Epilogue. Many years after graduation, Sebastian and I managed to find time in our busy schedules to return to our hometown. When the class monitor heard about it, he insisted on organizing a class reunion. So that evening, I saw Damien and Monica again. Actually, at first, I didn't recognize Damien. He was very different from before, wearing a suit and tie, sweating profusely. He hobbled into the room, handing out business cards to everyone. Oh wow, Mr. Wu, where are you working now? If the class monitor hadn't teased him, calling him Mr. Wu, I wouldn't have recognized that he was Damien. Damien looked uneasy. I'm with a real estate agency, barely making ends meet. If you need anything, come to me, I can get you a discount. Everyone fell silent. These days, being a real estate agent isn't easy. Most of the small-town agencies have gone out of business. Damien saw Sebastian and me, hesitated for a long time, and finally spoke. You and Sebastian stayed in the capital? Yes. I responded politely but didn't say much. Instead, the class monitor spilled all our details like beans. Carolina and Sebastian are something else. They have their own company, started their business in the capital, and I hear they've made quite a bit over the years. Damien looked even more uneasy. Throughout, he kept his head down, drinking silently. Monica was busy fiddling with her phone, looking absent-minded. A female classmate next to me noticed me looking at her and quickly stopped me. I know you two were close before, but I advise you not to worry about her. The last person who stood up for her ended up badly. I was surprised. What do you mean? Last year, Monica borrowed 200,000 yuan from her best friend for a man. Later, the man ran off, and when her friend got sick, Monica couldn't repay the money. She watched as her friend's condition worsened, and the family had to take her to the provincial capital for treatment. She's an ingrate, totally love-obsessed. Anyone who helps her ends up unlucky. How do you know about this? Oh, Damien told me. I nodded, not asking further. My feelings were mixed. Midway through the gathering, I went to the restroom and took the opportunity to get some fresh air in the back courtyard. Caro. Damien's voice came from behind. I stiffened, ready to leave. Damien hurriedly said, Don't be afraid. I just wanted to talk to you. I have nothing to say to you. Seeing that I wasn't interested at all, Damien quickly said, I regret it. If I could do it all over again, I definitely wouldn't have chosen to be with Monica. If it weren't for that day, if it had been you, maybe today He spoke rapidly, afraid that if he was a second late, I wouldn't hear his words of repentance. I stopped walking, turned back to look at him. Damien, do you think your life turned out this way just because you had a wrong relationship? Ignoring Monica hiding in the corner eavesdropping, I said, your grades, life plans, abilities, intelligence, and vision are far more important than you think, more important than love. You're unfortunate because of yourself, not because others brought misfortune upon you. Monica doesn't owe you anything. Don't blame everything on women. Earlier, a classmate told me that over the years, Monica hadn't been doing well, largely because Damien was retaliating against her. He was unwilling to accept that his fate was ruined by Monica, so he desperately spread gossip about her, trying to leave her nowhere to stand. Some classmates were knocking on the window, signaling that the gathering was ending. I left the silent Damien and turned to leave. As I passed by Monica, she seemed like she wanted to say something to me. I ignored her, walked through the private room, and left with the group. Night had fallen. Sebastian stood under the street lamp, holding my bag and coat, waiting for me. Seeing me approach, he extended his arm, letting me hold it. Smiling, he said, Monica said she wanted to apologize to you. Did you see her? I did, but I ignored her. I pressed my lips together, not in a great mood. Unknowingly, we walked to the gate of our old high school. Many years had passed, but the scenery was the same. An old, shabby food cart covered with a layer of waterproof cloth, parked in the corner. It was the snack stall Monica and I used to frequent the most. After all these years, it's still here. Sebastian patted my head. Remembering the old days? Yeah, the day before high school graduation. I tripped while handing Sebastian the trophy. Monica waited for me at the school gate with 2 skewers of grilled chicken wings. She was raised by her grandmother back then and didn't have much pocket money. Seeing me come out limping, she spent all her spare change, instructed Damien to buy disinfectant supplies, and told him to get the best. She was so anxious that Damien frowned deeply. When we left, he almost had "you two should just be together" written all over his face. That was the last time we met during high school. After that day, we each went on to our own futures. Later, after some unpleasant events, we became strangers. Why do you think people change? Sebastian said. The older people get, the more they understand what they want. Maybe she suddenly realized that you were no longer important to her. The wind blew, scattering Sebastian's words into the boundless night. I pouted slightly and whispered, "That was the last time I'll help her." "All right, the last time." I took Sebastian's hand again and walked into the distance. Our conversation faded into the wind. Sebastian, when did you realize what you wanted? I've always known. How do you know I haven't secretly loved someone for many years? But we almost missed each other. Doesn't matter. I'll always find my way to you.